Ohio State wants to have a balanced offense this season, and they can start showing that off against the Akron Zips.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to a Tuesday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Here on Tuesday, August 27th in the year 2024. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. One of the complaints about Ohio State's offense over the past few years is that it's been kind of an air raid offense. It's been pass heavy. Now, Stroud and even Justin Fields, they enjoyed that part of Ohio State's offense at times, but even Stroud and Fields realized, hey, we would love a little bit more emphasis on running the ball at times. 2020, when the running game started going and hitting on all cylinders, we saw how the Buckeyes played down the stretch in that season. Well, last year, and even the past couple of years, the Buckeyes weren't able to really get the run game going, and it was really the negative part of the Buckeyes offense. In come Chip Kelly, in come Quinshon Judkins, and in stays Travion Henderson, and now the Buckeyes really have the mindset of having a balanced offense. Now, the mindset is one thing. Actually doing it is another. And I do think the Buckeyes will start game one against Akron showing off a balanced offense. And they might even put more of an emphasis on running the ball early, which I think is very wise for Ohio State, especially with the offensive line working in a few new guys. You want to make sure you can run the ball. Yeah, Will Howard wants to make sure he can make all the passes. We'll talk about that later on in today's show. But Ohio State knows successful offenses, the teams that win big games in the playoff, that win national championships, how do they do it? By having a sound, strong run game. And there were some things that were even outside of Ohio State's control over the past few years that really hindered how successful the Buckeyes run game could be. But even if things were different, if everybody was healthy, there were still times Ryan Day was pass heavy. Let's just pass it to Njigba. Let's just pass it to Harrison Jr. Those aren't bad ideas. Those aren't bad thoughts to just throw it to them consistently when it's passing situations or when you're trying to pass and just get some different guys involved in the pass game. But you cannot neglect the run game. And Akron, when you look at Akron's team, their defense is going to be better than their offense, especially in game one. And that's normal. Early in the year, your defense is going to be ahead of your offense. Akron, just like Ohio State, had a quarterback battle, so you already know there's a new guy running the offense this year. And with that, what do you find? A, he's going to make mistakes. What do I expect from Will Howard this weekend? He is going to make mistakes. I just expect them. It's natural. It's normal. But when you think about the defense being better, you may say, Jay, especially by the numbers, what did Akron do last year as far as run defense? Well, run defense was actually not that bad for a team that was 2-10 last year. The two teams they beat one FCS school by a score of 24-21. They beat Kent State 31-27. You see those narrow margins of victories in those two games? That just tells you how bad this team was. But as bad as they were, Akron only gave up 4 yards a carry last year, 147.8 yards a game. They gave up less than 2 rush touchdowns a game. So this team, yes, they did a lot of losing, but it wasn't because of the run defense. That was actually the strength of the defense. The pass defense only gave up 187.3 passing yards per game. So the defense as a whole wasn't really what you thought when you say, oh, this team is bad. It's not because the defense was really just atrocious. No, they did some good things stopping teams. However, this is a kicker. They weren't playing teams of the caliber of Ohio State last year. They weren't playing teams that they have a Judkins, they have a Henderson, they have guys like Simmons and McLaughlin and Jackson on the offensive line. They don't have they weren't going up against experienced quarterbacks at the power 4 level like Will Howard last year every single week, which is a major advantage to Ohio State when you want to put an emphasis on having a balanced offense this year. And yes, they can absolutely 100% put an emphasis on having a balanced offense. And I think Chip Kelly wants to do that. I think he will do that. I think Chip Kelly realizes you don't want to just go into a game against Akron and realize, oh, we're going to be up early. Let's get that lead early. Let's pass the ball all over the yard. Let's get up 21, maybe 24, maybe 28-0 in the first quarter, and then start running the ball. No, you want to open up the game with your scripted plays, maybe 10, maybe 12, maybe 15 scripted plays, and then let the game alter your game plan, alter your play calling after that. Now, maybe they do go off the script and they go 5 plays and then go off script because they see, well, they're just scoring at will. Okay, great. That's cool. However, make sure, no matter what you're doing, on script in the beginning or off script in the beginning, make sure you're running the ball. You also need to make sure you're passing the ball too. So let's not just say Chip Kelly's going to be a guy that's going to run the ball a lot and run the ball more, be a power run type of play caller, and neglect the pass. No, Ohio State needs to pass the ball too early because unlike with Stroud, unlike with Fields, you have a quarterback in Will Howard who has question marks surrounding him and his arm. We're going to talk about a big one later in this show regarding Will Howard. You're also going to have guys, Sayin and Aaron Noland and Devin Brown, just some guys that are younger, not saying all of them will play on Saturday, but one or two of them might. Hey, when they're in the game, it's going to be mop-up duty. Do you throw the ball for them just to try to get their arm loose or run the ball? Now, that's a conversation later on in the game. But at that point in time, at the beginning of the game, mid-first quarter, mid-second quarter, make sure you're as balanced as you can. Now, if it's 35-0 in the first quarter, that's a little bit different. You got to really kind of dial things back just a tad because, this thing it's already out of hand, and it can get more out of hand the further you get into the game. But for Judkins and Henderson, and especially the offensive line, you want to make sure as you're building chemistry and learning how guys want the ball, how guys run, things of that nature in a game-type setting, you want to make sure you start that thing early in the year. Don't have no mishaps. Don't have no mental flops or mental blunders where all of a sudden things you would normally do, you're not doing them because, well, we don't want anybody on the other team to get hurt. We're worried about injuries on our team. We're worried about, man, is this really going to hurt the other coach's feelings by doing this right now in the first quarter on 2nd and 8 on the own 35 with 8.5 minutes left in the first quarter? That ain't the time for that. You need to use this right now like it is a game that you need to show some things and work on some things right now. Now, granted, I say like a game, but you still work on some things. It's Akron, man. The Buckeyes are 50.5-point favorites. I think the line opened up at 49.5-point favorites. I already have my score prediction for this game, and I have the Buckeyes scoring over 50 points. Trust me, this is a game Ohio State should blow Akron out. But early in the game, stay on script. Try to be as balanced as you can. Now, the one thing about this is, let's just be honest, it could be 2 plays and a touchdown. It could be 6 plays and a touchdown. It could be 3 plays, next drive and a touchdown. You're up 21-0 with 2.5 minutes left in the first quarter. You're saying, well, we want to be balanced, but we had short drives, and those short drives resulted in touchdown to touchdown to touchdown. Yeah, we want to get some work in, but they just can't stop us. They just can't tackle us. That could actually happen. But that's down the road. You want to score on every play. You want to make sure you're doing things positive and having successful plays. And one thing, not just for the team to have successful plays, but a successful outing and to show that you're growing, is to have a as balanced as it can be. Start showing that thing off against the Akron Zips. I'm kind of laughing because I know Ohio State should blow this team out the water, and I do believe they will blow the Zips out of Ohio Stadium. One thing I wonder about Will Howard is if he's able to do something with his arm on Saturday against Akron. We'll talk about that next. This episode is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. 5-Hour Energy fixes tired fast. Whether you have a long list to do for work or list of DIY projects to tackle at home, take a 5-Hour Energy shot so you can check everything off your list. If you are like me, you always have a large list of projects for the home. When you get your supplies for the project, do not forget the most essential supply, which is a 5-Hour Energy shot. With 0 sugar and a convenient portable size, it's a perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5-Hour Energy website has flavors galore, like watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and more. There is a flavor for everyone. Y'all, make sure you try them all. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5-Hour Energy product today, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. The offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. College football is back, and it's not too late to catch up before the season kicks off. SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12. You can get it all from Locked On stable of college experts by subscribing to the Locked On College Football Podcast. Who has a chance to make the playoff? What teams will cause chaos in their new conferences? Everything you need to know all in one place. Be sure to follow and subscribe to the Locked On College Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. When it was announced that Will Howard was transferring to Ohio State, numerous people around the country believed, hey, he will eventually be Ohio State's QB1. Came in for winter workouts and then went into spring practice, summer workouts, into fall camp, and all along the way, numerous people believed, myself included, that Will Howard would eventually be the Buckeye starting quarterback. And throughout the offseason, one thing we heard a lot from Ohio State players and coaches, hey, this big boy can move. Some even called him the white JT. I ain't going that far, but I will not deny the fact that Will Howard can move for just in general, not just for a quarterback, just an athlete. He can move. And that's a part of Ohio State's offense I do believe Chip Kelly will tap into this year. But one of the things that still remains to be a big question about Will Howard, it has to do with his arm. The question we had from Ryan Day yesterday, had a big one about Day, got a big one about Will Howard right now. Will Howard show he is an improved passer against Akron? And I think for me, for you, for anybody you know, a lot of people have that same question. Will you show you're an improved passer? Over the weekend, we got to watch Florida State play Georgia Tech. Ultimately, the Yellow Jackets beat the Seminoles 24-21 on the other side of the pond. And it was a good kind of appetizer, a little bit of a teaser for Ohio State fans. Hey, Ohio State's not playing right now. Get a little football, college football with Power 4 schools, ACC schools to be exact, playing on week 0 to kick off the 2024 season before Ohio State steps up and just takes over, and all eyes will be on the Buckeyes on Saturday. Well, during that game, and even leading into the game, and even after the game, there were people asking questions about DJ Uiagalelei. And they were asking questions about, well, why did Florida State bring him in if they know he's a passer like this? If he throws the ball this way, why bring him in? Well, maybe you think he's an upgrader if you just need a guy and he can fill that space and you think you can make him better. Hey, yeah, you can bring him in. But one thing about DJ Uiagalelei is that, well, people know he's not the most accurate of passers. He played at Clemson for a few years, played at Oregon State. He's now playing for his third college football team. And one thing is still true about him. His arm isn't the best. Now, his best year throwing the ball, completion percentage-wise, was 66.7% his freshman year in Clemson. That was during the COVID. Played 10 games, had 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Now, after that, when he played a full season, 2021, 55.6% throwing the ball, completion percentage. 2022, 61.9. Oregon State last year for DJU, 57.1. People are questioning DJU's arm. And people knew that before Saturday's game. It was more confirmed about, hey, this dude just can't make all the throws. Not the most accurate of passers. Will Howard is less accurate than DJ Uiagalelei is. Will Howard in 2020, 53.6% completion percentage. The next year, 2021, 54.5%. Now, he didn't really play that much, only threw the ball 55 times, so the numbers are not as large, didn't have as many attempts in 2020 versus 2021. The one time he played a full season was last year. Was the only time in his career that he eclipsed a 60% completion percentage mark in a season. It wasn't that high. It was 61.3%. Now, he had 24 passing touchdowns and 10 interceptions Everyone, even myself included, when we think about Will Howard, we think about what he did in 2022 when Kansas State won the Big 12 championship. That year, he only played in 7 games, threw the ball 59.8% with his completion percentage. It wasn't that hot. And so as much as people are talking about Will Howard and his legs, great. Chip Kelly will tap into them. What do we know about Ryan Day, who is still the head coach? Let's not get it twisted. Day's still the head coach, and Day is still going to have a lot of input into the Buckeyes offense. He wants a quarterback that can make all the throws, and that is accurate. That ain't Will Howard. That's never been Will Howard in college football. So, yes, I have a question. Will Will Howard show he's an improved passer against Akron? And I don't care if it was Akron, if it was Notre Dame, if it was Alabama, if it was fill-in-the-blank school. I don't care who it is. Will he do it? I don't know. And that's one thing. If you can't do it against Akron, or you're kind of struggling against Akron, what you going to do against Iowa? What you going to do against Oregon, or Nebraska, or Penn State, or Michigan? Indiana's defense, Kirk Cignetti, they're going to be improved. And we all knew Tom Allen wasn't the best head coach at Indiana. He still had a decent defense, had guys flying all over the ball, and had DBs that went off to play in the NFL. So Will Howard, hey man, you got to show me something. I know I'm a tough grader, and I don't care. That's fine. I'm going to be a tough grader now, going to be a tough grader tomorrow, going to be a tough grader a year from now. That's just what I am as an analyst. I am a tough grader, and I'm a little bit harder on Ohio State because I know the standard is so high, and we want to keep the standard no matter what. Y'all, Will Howard has to show us something. He has to show up. He has to show out. And even if the Buckeyes have a balanced offense against Akron early in that game, what can we see from Will Howard? Is he still the inaccurate passer, or is he more accurate? Can he make more of the throws? Has he improved throughout the offseason? Now, the one hiccup about this 1 week, its team is bad. There's a reason why Ohio State is they're such big favorites against Akron. Not only does Ohio State have a lot of talent, Akron ain't got a lot of talent. I know the English is bad, but y'all bear with me. Y'all understand why I do it. It's for emphasis. They ain't got nobody. I mean, they got some players, not the caliber of Ohio State players. And so, yeah, Akron, Western Michigan, Marshall, even though they are not the upper caliber in college football, Will Howard needs to do these things against these schools, starting with Akron. We're focusing on Akron. This is week 1 of the season. I'll talk more about in a second the normal layout of the land as far as how the weeks normally go here in season, as far as how things are going to go throughout the week. But with this being week 1, it's broken up a little bit differently, which is why we're just taking some time every day this week to ask a big question about an Ohio State player. Yesterday was Ryan Day. Today it's Will Howard. I would love to come on here and say, oh, yeah, I believe he's going to make all them throws. I believe he's going to be more accurate. I believe he's going to be a guy that last year when he played in 12 games for Kansas State had a completion percentage of 61.3. I would love to sit up here and say, yeah, it'll be about 68.2. It'll be about 69.1. I would love to come on here and say that about Will Howard. He hasn't shown me that throughout his career on the field, so I have no reason to come on here and tell you that he's going to be able to do that thing on the field on Saturday, even against a bad opponent, because we just haven't seen Will Howard be that kind of passer. If he does it this weekend, though, he's going to start building confidence. Chip Kelly's going to start being able to build confidence and believe more in Will Howard, not just a runner, but the overall player and quarterback that he is. Hey, Will Howard, this is your time. People are doubting you. People like myself have questions about you. You can start answering them questions with positive play starting on Saturday against the Akron Zips. I told you this week's a little wacky, a little bit different. We're doing a little questionnaire about some players. We're also doing the stock watch in a different spot this week. I'll explain why next. To stock up, stock down for the first game week of the year. It's coming at you next. This episode is brought to you by Ultimate GM. Hey, Locked on Buckeyes fans, I want to take a moment to give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you are going to love as much as I do, Ultimate College Football HC. In this amazing game and simulation, You get to step into the shoes of a head coach and lead your college football program to glory, from recruiting players and hiring coaching staff to overseeing training camps and handling school scholarships. You control every crucial detail of your program. Y'all, it's all in your hands. And here's what I really love about the game. You are responsible for calling offensive plays during the game. Your strategy will not only determine the success of your football season, but will shape the future and legacy of your program. Ultimate College Football HC is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. You can play on the go as you want and when you want to. To download the game, just visit ultimate-cfb.com or look it up on the app stores. Ultimate College Football HC. Begin your coaching legacy today. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. Now, the normal order of a week, as far as Monday through Friday, even on a Saturday for a game day, is not like it is today. On a Monday, we continue our reaction and kind of dive a little bit deeper into the notebook as far as reacting to the Buckeyes' most recent game. On Tuesday, we do a little film session and try to figure out, why did positive things happen? Why did negative things happen? And how do we fix them? On Wednesdays, we turn the page to the next opponent so to get an early look on who Ohio State is playing next. Also, during our Wednesday show is our stock watch. At the end of the show, stock up, stock down every single week. On Thursdays, we get a preview of the next opponent. On Fridays, we provide our keys for victory. Saturdays, on game days, we do a live reaction pod live on the YouTube. I'd Locked On Buckeyes on the YouTube to just get a live post-game show for you to enjoy, reacting to the Buckeyes' last game. Since this week's a little bit different, we're doing the stock watch a little bit earlier in the week than normal. I don't think you'll complain, because the stock watch is always fun for the listeners. I know it's fun for myself as well. Stock up, stock down. Let's start stock up. Let's be a little positive. Stock up that Ohio State football is back. I believe it was during yesterday's show I made a statement about Ohio State taking the field for the first time in 2024. And before I made that statement, I was thinking about the season, not thinking the calendar year. Literally, Ohio State's last game was in December of 2023. Let that sink in for you. The fact that Ohio State didn't play in January this year, last year, the year before, that season before, didn't play in January because that kick did not, I don't think it went through. I believe the game ended as soon as the clock moved to the next year, the next calendar year. So Ohio State playing, it's weird year this year, weird year the year before, hasn't played in January in a while. Let's make that happen this year. But to do that, you gotta start the journey. And the journey starts this weekend. Stock up, the Buckeye football is back. Stock up that we get 5 days of college football. Ball on Thursday, ball on Friday, college ball. Ball on Saturday all day. Ball on Sunday and ball on Monday night on Labor Day. I am here for it. Y'all know, the everydayers especially understand, yours truly loves college football. It is one of the things that I am passionate about in my life. And when I can get a college football Saturday, I enjoy it. But when you get ball on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, it's like Christmas in August and September, all wrapped into one. I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. Stock up on Ohio State's health. Because one thing we've talked about here over the past few years is how the injury bug has really hurt Ohio State over the past few years, has really hindered how successful they could be in given years. Well, today, right now, Court Williams, unfortunately, retired from the game of football. He is not playing this year, no longer playing football at all. I believe TC Coffey, I know he did, suffered a season-ending knee injury during the offseason. Outside of that, Buckeyes really don't have any real major injuries. Now, Donovan Jackson has missed time during fall camp, but it's not thought about to be a major injury. It's something that people believe that if they were playing a major game this weekend, a major team this weekend, he would play. Will he play against Akron? I mean, I expect him to, but if he does not, if they sit him out for the injury, whatever it may be, okay, that'd be fine. Cool. But Ohio State not being hit with the injury bug during preseason camp, during fall camp, that is a major luxury. especially when you think about how it's hit Ohio State over the past few years. Also, stock up on Tegra. No, we don't do 4 on stock up, positive or even 4 on the other side of the fence on the downside. But Tegra Shabola is put himself in a great spot right now. He can be either the Buckeyes' 5th offensive lineman and be the Buckeyes starting right guard, or maybe even left guard. Or he could be the 6th offensive lineman. What are the luxuries you have about a guy who I believe is about 6'5", 320, whatever? He can be your guy when you want to run, hey, a heavier set and have six offensive linemen on the field. He could potentially be that guy. Now, we've seen that as a staple under Ryan Day's offense. Will that be something Chip Kelly wants to utilize when Will Kazmarek is believed to be a really good inline blocker as a tight end? Do you really need to bring a heavier guy in when you could keep Will Kazmarek in and keep the defense more honest? I don't know. I have no idea. But if that's the case, they want to use another offensive lineman, it could be Tegra Shabola, and I wouldn't be mad about it. Stock down on the Buckeyes' weak non-conference slate. Western Michigan, Akron, Marshall. Now, I mentioned this on Locked On College Football recently, and that clip is going to come on the YouTube here shortly, and talked about, Ohio State's schedule, how the non-conference was weak, and Spencer McLaughlin said, you kind of went on a little rant, and I understand it. I completely get where he was coming from. When you add a little bit of context, because I do believe this was a year where we're going to get Ohio State and Washington to have a home and back-to-back years. Next year is going to be Washington and Texas are going to be the Buckeyes' non-conference opponents. And then all of a sudden, when Washington joined the Big Ten, that contract between Ohio State and Washington went out the water. They did not try to keep it, just turned the game into a non-conference game, which would have been wise. Would have been 100% wise, and I would have got that. It actually would have been a great benefit for Ohio State to play that game as a non-conference game this year or next year, but they decided not to. And now you're left with Marshall, Akron, and Western Michigan. They're getting a check. They need the check for the athletic department. I understand it, but honestly, y'all, I don't like this at all. I'm a person that believes every school, especially if you're the upper echelon of the sport, you need to play one Power 4 school, or maybe an upper level independent, Notre Dame, in your non-conference slate. Ohio State could easily pick an ACC school, an SEC school, or a Big 12 school to play the non-conference every year. And you don't have to play the Alabama or Georgia. You don't have to play a Florida State. You don't have to play one of those big boy schools. You can play a Kansas, who's better lately. You can play an Iowa State, who is not one of the upper tiers. They're a decent school. You could do that every year. But no, they choose not to, at least right now. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. This one was kind of outside of their control a little. Ohio State and Washington still could have played this a non-conference game. And y'all, there would have been nothing wrong with it. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. Now is the perfect time to go check out the Locked On College Football podcast. From NIL deals to never-ending conference realignment rumors, Spencer McLaughlin gets you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron. You can find the link to Locked On College Football in the description, so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, in the description of this show and every show is the link to become a Locked On Buckeyes insider. Y'all don't want to miss and not be a part of this exclusive group. There's a lot of good stuff coming your way when you become a Locked On Buckeyes insider. You can follow me on X at jstevens07. Excuse me, it's still Twitter. You can send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. Out of here on a Tuesday. We'll see you next time.